Good evening, everyone. This is the debate for the Publicity Officers position. Our participants this debate are Jackson Koh and Cheryl Fan from Ibnivitas, and from Lideransia's side, we have Rain Lee Lin Jun. Oh, I think Rain just got disconnected, but okay. Well, we are waiting for Rain. I'll also introduce the rest of our participants. We have our office bearers, Alfea Faruzi and Lee Qian Yi, and we also have me, Sean Pan, our current returning officer. I also have my deputy returning officer with me, Alethea Goh. However, she is behind the scenes and she is just maintaining the stream and making sure it runs smoothly. Before we continue, let's just remind the audience a few things. For example, keep your comments respectful. Remember, no hate speech, don't spam comments, try not to engage in conversation, otherwise, questions can be lost in there. Another thing is that you guys are permitted to ask questions in the comments regarding anybody's manifesto at all. And there will be a time in the debate where we get to them and we present your questions to the candidates and give them a chance to answer them. Try not to direct your questions towards a particular party as well, or too much, and just try and keep it general. Now let's move on to the agenda so that everyone knows how our debate is going to be run today. So first we have the introduction by Election Commission, which is what I'm doing now. After the introduction, we will move into the opening statements by Jackson, Cheryl, and Rain, and they are going to wow us with their manifesto and policies and just overall give us a good impression. After the opening statements, we will have the cross-examination where Liderantia and Ignavitas are going to ask each other questions based on their manifestos and basically clarify a few things that may need clarification. We also have the Q&A by office bearers after that. Alpha and Chen Yi are going to ask our candidates questions, and after that, we will go to Q&A by audience, where we will be picking questions based on their relevance or appropriateness, and then presenting them to the candidates. After that, we will move on to the closing statements by the candidates, and Jackson, Cheryl, and Rain will tell us about the summary and give us their last words. Finally, we will close with the Election Commission's words. Without further ado, I would like to pass the mic on to Jackson and Cheryl. It's your turn to do the opening statement. Guys, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So hi everyone, this is Jackson and Cheryl, and actually we are running for the role of Publicity Officer under the party Ignivitas. So we're actually both the current subcommittee of MUSA Publicity Department. And okay, Cheryl is the operation manager and I am the entertainment host. So we truly enjoy what we are doing right now, and this has actually inspired us to participate in this election. So right now, I'd like to pass the floor to Cheryl first.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cheryl, and I'm from the School of Science, currently in my Year 2, Semester 1. As a current operations manager and a past digital marketing intern, I possess a vast amount of knowledge on how to effectively manage social networking, conduct brand placement and promotion, so that this ensures the daily operations in MUSA is at great hands. Back to you, Jackson.
All right. Thank you, Cheryl. Hi, I'm Jackson from School of Business in my Year 1, Semester 2, and it would be of great privilege to instill my previous and current knowledge accumulated to serve the student body in Monash. Throughout participating in various students and body, I have actually accumulated a vast amount of knowledge on how to manage, how to do branding, how to do promotion. So I hope that this could be of great use to future students and also clubs and society in Monash. So yes, we hope to act as an interconnecting bridge between students, clubs and society, and Monash.
So Jackson and I share the same goal of running as publicity officer. We want to act as the interconnecting bridge between students, club society, and MUSA. We hope to create a closer, harmonious, and inclusive community within Monash University, Malaysia. With that, let us move forward to our manifestos. Firstly, elevating user experience. Things go into reverse when pushed to the extreme. We would like to hone in on both quality and quantity of the content of MUSA. We would want to ensure content is being released in an organized, timely manner so that it does not overwhelm the audience. At the same time, the core value or information of the content is to be strongly highlighted, as we believe this strongly facilitates audience experience, so it imprints a solid and positive impression of MUSA.
All right, next up, part of your journey. Having established an orthodox integration of MUSA media platform, We envision to improve students' university experience through utilizing all platforms made available to MUSA, as we value students as individuals, and it would be an honor on creating sparks in their university journey, gaining valuable knowledge, exploring their hidden potential, and ultimately creating a better version of themselves.
Thirdly, we also value service satisfaction. We would like to improve the overall publicity service made available by MUSA. Since MUSA is the main trajectory for clubs and societies in Monash University, Malaysia to collaborate on for their public relation and marketing affair. Hence, we shall prioritize on the quality of services provided by MUSA, highly valuing overall satisfaction. Roster-based system is an initiative we shall be implementing to make sure our service is sustainable in the long run. We don't just pay attention to the process, but also user experience.
All right, next up, middleman service. Not only assisting in promoting events, we would like to also take the initiative to act as a middleman to all money transactional related matter of clubs and society in Monash University, Malaysia. So often we see clubs and societies setting up booths to sell their merchandise or event ticket. We would like to assist them in boosting sales performances. MUSA website can be of great help in acting as a main portal for commercial activities.
Next, diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion is something we would like to highly accentuate on, especially on our future subcommittees. Diversity and inclusion allows MUSA to be more inclusive of different ideas, cultures, and lifestyles, leading to an improved association culture. It also puts MUSA Publicity in a position to recruit the best subcoms from a diverse and often untapped candidate pool.
Lastly, sustainable environment. We would like to put effort in maintaining the current morale of MUSA Publicity, but at the same time, exploring possibilities to give a facelift to it. We want to make sure MUSA Publicity promotes a healthy, sustainable environment that audience and partners find as pleasant, and future subcommittees find it fun and sheltered. We want to create a strong value and spread meaningful, positive growth to all of the stakeholders of MUSA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson and Cheryl, for your wonderful opening statement. Now it is time to pass the floor to Leader Ansia, or Rain Lee. He will be the candidate who will be representing Leader Ansia in this Publicity Officers. Rain, the floor is yours.
So, hi everyone, my name is Rain Lee, or Lee Lin Jun, long name, and I'm running for Publicity Officer 2023 in MUSA. So, currently I'm a student in the School of Arts and Social Science studying psychology, but actually before this, I have been in the School of Engineering for the past 4 years. I've been in Monash for the last 5 years, and I'm well versed with the student body and MUSA itself, having been the subcom under the editors department in 2019. And I've also been, for the past 3 years, I've been the head of events and public relations for the student-led club Monash Buddhist Society.
Oh. I think Rain might be having a few technical difficulties. Why don't we give him maybe 2 minutes? Okay, we'll just give him 2 minutes to get back online. And if he's still not available by then, we'll continue on with the rest of the debate. Rain, are you good?
Yeah, Monash Wi-Fi is acting up, so I'm switching to my hotspot.
No worries, take your time. Just let me know when you're ready. You can begin again if you'd like.
Okay, all right, I can begin.
Okay, you may start now.
So, hi everyone, my name is Rain Lee and I'm running for Publicity Officer 2023 in MUSA. I'm a student in the School of Arts and Social Science studying psychology, but before this, I was in the School of Engineering for the last 4 years. So I've been in Monash for the last 5 years and I'm well versed with the student body and MUSA itself, having been the subcom under the editors department in 2019 and being the head of events and public relations for the student-led club Monash Buddhist Society from 2020 to present. So outside of Monash, I'm a social media manager and the head of media and IT for one of the largest non-profit organizations in Malaysia, known as T Ratana, for the last 6 years since I was in college. So I have immense experience in branding, media, and digital marketing. So my vision for MUSA Publicity is to design and create content that represents all Monash students. One of my core principles and my party's core principles is inclusion, and I plan to serve all Monashians, regardless of what walks of life they come from, my full ability. So um, my first point is ensuring that all MUSA-related content is consistent in branding, team, mission, and vision via the Media Affairs Committee. So as I understand, the Media Affairs Committee includes clubs and societies, publicity officer within clubs and societies, and as well as the editors department, and of course the VP and the president. All these, I plan to make sure that they are all streamlined. And the second one is creating a safe space for all, giving all Monashians a safe and inclusive space, not only to find out about university events, but also voice their opinions and be part of the change. So let's say someone isn't agreeable with something, that the way that something is being run on campus, they can use the MUSA platform to voice out their opinions and not just keep it to themselves or just anonymously hide behind a page and type something. And the third point is your choice, your voice. So ensuring all voices of students are heard, taking constant feedback from all students, and through other departments in MUSA, implementing it. So I plan to work very closely with other departments in MUSA, regardless of where they are coming from. Finally, the website centralization. So currently, we do not see a lot of events being posted on the MUSA website, and it's very tough to scroll through an Instagram feed or just tap through stories. So centralizing everything on the website will be one of my plans to ensure that students will be able to access everything via one-stop platform, one-stop solution. And in addition to events, also include things like the FAQs, frequently asked questions, questions that students may have. So yeah, that's all I have for you all this evening.
Thank you, Rain, for your also wonderful opening statement. Now it is time for us to go into the cross-examination period where Jackson, Cheryl, and Rain are going to go head to head and question each other based on their manifestos. Guys, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Hello, Sean. So great manifesto, by the way. I really love your manifesto. A few points of it is actually quite near to what we are planning to instill. Okay, so for my first question, can I please ask, since in your manifesto you did mention that you are planning to do on-campus promoting, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so how do you ensure that the offline promoting is as effective as online, since there is no actual proper way to evaluate the effectiveness of it compared to online? For example, in Instagram, you can see the audience reach, you can see like all the statistic, but however, online, it's like you just pin something on the notice board and that's it. You don't know if it's actually reaching out to your target audience or not.
So there's actually a good way to track metrics. Is what I've done in the past is we've printed out posters with QR codes that can actually enable you to track how many people visit the link and what interactions they do with the link. So integrating it with a sort of software or platform that's of course free to use, so it doesn't incur any cost on the budget, would be the way to track whether people like go for the event or whether they sign up for the event.
Okay. So following up for this particular question, right? So since, okay, I agree on the fact that using a QR code is a rather optimistic way to actually follow up. But also, if you're talking about on campus, you mentioned there's many notice boards throughout Monash, right? Everyone knows that
Yeah.
there is quite a few, almost every classes outside there is a notice board. So how do you plan to execute your offline promoting initiative, as it is really time and manpower consuming? I mean, assuming you don't go all notice board, but only notice board that you feel has high exposure, how do you ensure that the one you handpick is better than the other you neglected? Since, like mentioned in the last question, there's no proper way to evaluate the effectiveness of it compared to online.
So the way that I would do it is firstly, first we would implement that QR code system maybe for a few weeks to see how it goes. And then we'll quickly study the effectiveness of each notice board. Of course, we won't like post posters in every notice board. We'll be like selecting some notice boards. And then from there, we'll see which one has the most traffic. And we'll be able to use those statistics from the QR code to determine which are the high traffic notice boards.
Okay. Cheryl, have you got any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. So another one is about your first manifesto as well. Consistent as in what sense, I may ask, because branding and theme seems to be something that the current MUSA is actually implementing right now. I mean, if you look in their Instagram right now, you can see that there's a rather consistent theme implemented on the major social media website of MUSA. And there's like a red, yellow, white. Yes, exactly. So can you highlight more on that?
So my belief is that for branding and theme, right, you need to match the colors of your logo. And MUSA's own logo is black and white, while MUSA's content tends to veer off to other colors. While we know that different colors actually act differently psychologically on people, but it's a much better aesthetic to be completely black and white, maybe with some hints of gray. Although it doesn't seem as attractive as it is, but having an aesthetic Instagram social network feed, I think is quite important.
I mean, okay, if you talk about aesthetic, if you're saying about black and white, wouldn't it be boring where it doesn't show creativity? Because we are publicity, we are there to help publicize, we are there to publicize event. So we definitely should show our creativity on it. If you're talking about black and white, don't you think Monashan would feel a little bit bland and boring in the sense it doesn't sort of sparks their interest to sort of read through all the posts or sort of go through all the posts? Because I mean, imagine your post is like a contract or something. Everything is just in Word, no different typography, no different colors or no different things. Is it attractive? I mean, in the sense that can it reach audience? How do I say it? Okay, can it reach audience as previously when there is colors or themes or different typographies?
So I'm speaking from experience with my organization outside of Monash, Tiratana. Our main color is actually blue. So our whole feed is actually blue and white, and we've managed to get a very good reach from that. So that's speaking from experience. Of course, our target audience is slightly different with our target audience for MUSA being university students. My target audience is young working adults for other organization. But I mean, since it's not a very far generation apart, so I would assume that the principle still stands that although it's monotone, it's still aesthetic enough to attract people's attention.
Okay, so you're talking about your outside NGO. Sorry, can you repeat? I don't know how to pronounce it properly. I don't want to slander the name. Sorry. So, Tirana, right?
Tiratana.
Iratana. Tiratana. Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, I mean, as if you're saying that the target audience of your Tiratana is in the working adult, young working adult group, and since Monash is basically a university which is students are quite young, I mean, how do you prove that? Like, I mean, is there any solid or concrete proof that using black and white monotone aesthetic actually attracts them? Because I don't think so. Because from what we can observe in Monash, everyone is rather colorful, everyone is rather creative, everyone is sort of themselves. You don't really see monotone. All throughout all those events, you can see all the designs are really robust. Monash manga. Everything is in a really colorful depiction. Basically, yeah, I don't know how your black and white monotone would actually work. If you're bringing your NGO context into Monash context, I don't think it would be as effective.
Okay. That's definitely that I can learn from other people as well. So if that is the case in Monash, of course I can also move to adapt to a different situation. So of course, that's only one of my ideas. So of course, ideas can change as well.
Okay, good enough. So, okay, my next question, perhaps Cheryl, do you want to take the next question?
Sorry, would you? I think I might suggest that Rain may ask the next question so that he also gets a bit of screen time.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Rain. Go ahead.
So Jackson, you
Yes, hi.
mentioned diversity and inclusion.
Uh-huh.
What do you define as diversity and inclusion?
Okay, so I'll take this question. Yeah. All right. So when I'm talking about diversity inclusion, so let's look into our manifesto. Basically, we are trying to improve the association culture because based in our current subcommittee role, so it's not really as diversified because as we know, Monash is basically made out of majority Indonesian, more than 40% is Indonesian. So definitely when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we would like to include more of subcommittees from different culture, from different background. So as you can see in the next part, diverse and often untapped candidate pool. This is one thing I would like to highlight. It's because there are often people like they are from different ethnic and culture that they are interested to apply to join MUSA, but they have not got the chance because perhaps the other one might excel more compared to them. But in this part, we would like to heavily emphasize on since MUSA is a student body, we would like to provide them with the platform for every different people in Monash, regardless of their culture, regardless of their ethnicity, to have a chance to express themselves.
All right. Y'all can ask the next question. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So my question for you is, like since you talk about ensuring all the students' voices are heard in Monash, may I know like what would you do like in a situation where like there are conflicting opinions from different students? Like how do you like weigh and select between like let's say if you put out a survey and you get a lot of feedback, how would you cater to all these different possibly different feedback that you're going to receive?
So it will be very important to find a middle ground where everyone can find things that they have in common. So while in a survey we may have differing opinions as a result of the survey, but we can still analyze the results in order to find what are the most common factors, what are the most common things talked about among the survey. So by doing that, we can use that to implement a strategy to fix the problem.
Thank you for your answer.
Okay. Sorry. One last one. Continuing on with with Cheryl's last question. So, okay, say there is a time where you must face a decision where the general opinion go against your vision or your core principle. Okay, if you decided to, if you decide to neglect the voices of the student and go with your own principle, it might cause severe backlash and bad publicity. But however, if you go with the student's opinion, you are basically sort of going against what you have sought after being a publicity officer. Can you further evaluate on how you're going to handle this?
So in the event that this happens, and it definitely has happened to me before, it would be a great challenge. But what I would do is I would first of all outweigh the pros and cons of doing each, like whether I want to follow general public or follow myself. And after that, I'll also make sure I can find a middle ground between what the general students want and between what my vision mission is. There has to always be a middle ground, a way to compromise if something gets out of hand.
But okay, so you say a lot about having middle ground and compromising, but still you can't neglect the fact that it has caused bad publicity if you go with your own decision. how would you tend to sort this out? Because with bad publicity, it can lead to the decrease, like the depreciation of clubs and society engaging on MUSA to help publicize their event, because they are also afraid like this might cause negative feedbacks or negative reviews on their activities as well. So can you further elaborate on that?
So definitely, when you are doing a job or anything facing people, you will definitely get criticism and negative words. So to deal with these any negative feedback or negative words, the key point is to actually churn out what is the bright side of situation, the better side, because there's always more than one side to anything.
Okay, but still, yes, you say about more on focusing on the good side, but that is strictly circulating around within MUSA itself. You still cannot neglect the fact that external your stakeholders are you have it like a
Guys, I'm really sorry I have to cut you off, Jackson. But
Uh-huh.
actually, we are short on time. So I think maybe Rain should ask the last question before we move on to our question and answer session by the office bearers.
Okay, sure.
So my last question is currently you're a subcom.
Mhm.
So for the future subcoms, do you
Mhm.
all plan to actually, because I understand there's a shortage of manpower, so do you all plan to increase the size of subcoms, or do you plan to, how do you plan to combat this lack of subcoms?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Rain. Thanks for the question. Based on like my understanding, there's there are specific rules as to like what are the maximum number of subcoms available um, that we are able to recruit each year. Um, so I don't think that it's possible for us to determine that number and say for sure. Yeah, but in terms of allocating specific job roles, that one we will have like more flexibility, like for instance, how many operations manager we want, how many web developers or graphic designers. That's something that is in our control. But in terms of like the numbers of like the whole department, I think that's fixed. I
All
hope
right,
that
thank
answers.
you.
Okay, thank you guys for a very productive question and answer session. That is actually the end of our cross-examination period because we don't have that much time. But now it is time for more Q&A, but this time it will be handled by Alpha and Chen Yi, our current office bearers. So Alpha and Chen Yi, the floor is yours. Do feel welcome to ask them anything you have.
Okay, thank you, Sean. So, hi everyone. Thank you for the awesome speech. So, first of all, before we do begin our questions, we'd like to extend our gratitude towards both candidates for putting their interest in running as publicity officers. We do believe that reaching this point is not that easy. Hence, all the best to the candidates for all upcoming election stages. So, first question to both candidates. As a MUSA publicity, we work very closely to a corporate marketing department on a smaller scale. There are a lot of events that require publicity, alongside many stakeholders also requested to MUSA to share their event information to students. How can you ensure that the information is organized neatly while ensuring that students viewing the stories and posts on our platform are not overloaded with information, leading to lack of interest? Other than planning ahead and proposing a time frame of posting, are there any other ways to approach the publicity of events? Thank you.
Sorry, Alpha, can you repeat the last part because sort of laggy from our side?
Okay, so the question is, how can you ensure that the information is organized neatly while ensuring that students viewing the stories and posts on our platform are not overloaded with the information, leading to lack of interest? Other than planning ahead and proposing a time frame of posting, are there any other ways to approach the publicity of events? Thank you.
I can start off with answering the question. So, to ensure that our content is organized neatly and that students are not overloaded with information causing lack of interest, I think that besides planning ahead and posting at a certain time frame, something that is very important as well is the time intervals between posts, because because when posts are posted in like large quantities at the same time, there's a huge probability where students will um, skip it because it come across as like spam. It gives off the impression of spam. And another thing that is very important to ensure student interest is the aesthetics as well. Aesthetics in so that encompasses color choices, consistency, as well as the the placement of typographies and the placement of graphics. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so for me, the main thing to be condensing things into a less number of stories. If we're talking about Instagram stories, because we can actually try to, like, for example, we want to talk about all the events for this week. So there are two ways to approach it. One way is we can post one by one. You know, we can just like repost the poster, share the story, add the story. But that's going to be very boring, and like people would just honestly, personally for me, I just like swipe through. So in more effective way to approach it would to be summarize things, maybe in one or two stories, have a list of upcoming events, for example, and yeah, that would be able to reach people more in a more effective way, and also it's less overwhelming.
Chen, do you want to go?
Um, so thank you for you guys' questions. So with regard to your methods of organizing information, during peaks out periods when there are a lot of contents to be posted within a tight time frame, how will you communicate with the stakeholders requesting publicity from three different perspectives, other debts, university management, and external parties?
Is it okay if I go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so since you mentioned like there may be times when there's a high volume, right, of high volume of requests from other debts, am I correct? And university departments and third parties. So the way to manage this will to be, but in addition to having like a proper like roster for when to post things, it's also good to space them out so people don't find it like being spam. Especially like if let's say like okay, I'll just give an example. Like maybe Student Life wants to share their event, and then there's like a club and society, and then there's someone who collaborated with MUSA, maybe a career fair, and all three of them have the event on the same day. So instead of posting all the posters at once, it will be like nice to post the posters in a separate time frame, and also like have them as one combined story, however, so that you don't spam the story, and so that people can actually let's assume the events happen to take place at the same time. In fact, so like having them all in one story will actually let people decide which event to go for instead of like having to like scroll through the feed and scroll through the stories.
Okay. To answer your question, when there are large volumes of demands coming from other departments, university management, and external parties, I guess for like to handle this situation, we would organize them in terms of the priorities. So that is like the time that the event or the the event or the request is needed by. And then secondly, also we would tend to prioritize the internal parties and university management as those are more tailored to our to our Monash students, whereas external parties are more towards collaborative efforts on how to it's more like it's I would say it's like lesser of a priority than our internal management because those tend to involve student life and academic stuff. So those would be higher on the priority list. And then secondly, other departments such as corporate societies, because those are more tailored towards Monash students. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Cheryl and Jackson, for the answers. Actually, I would like to clarify again with Rain because I don't think the question is addressed. So, how will you communicate with the stakeholders requesting publicity from three perspectives: other departments or divisions, university management, and external parties? Thank you.
So communicating with parties from different perspectives. So first of all, if it's other departments within MUSA, the communication is fairly easy because they are also fellow students. So we are more likely to understand each other. So it's also okay to communicate informally, like via Telegram or WhatsApp, instead of like having to write email. But communicating with university departments and third parties will be done more formally through channels like email or even like if it's necessary, physical letters if that's necessary. Does that answer the question or?
Okay, I think it's enough for that question. So moving on to the second question. This is to both candidates. In facing such thing as PR crisis, how will you handle the situation? So yes, and how will you maintain the professionalism of MUSA on this? How to have a comprehensive mindset to face the situation, and how will you adjust to the situation?
Okay, I think I can go first if you don't mind. Okay, so PR crisis is definitely something that can happen to any organization, and MUSA is not one of them that is spared. Um, okay, I don't think I should be addressing the comments now, but like I'll just like briefly say something like definitely I myself have been one of the people to criticize MUSA in the past regarding things that they have done. And of course, that can lead to a small PR crisis. But there have been bigger PR crises, which we will not talk about. But basically, the way to face a PR crisis is firstly, if we have done anything wrong, if our members have actually done anything wrong, and there is proof, or even that if there is no proof, as long as we know that they have done something wrong, we should own up to that mistake. We should admit that it happened. Because if we lie about it, if we try to cover up about it, it's definitely going to get us to more trouble. A lie only leads to more lies, which we have to cover up over and over again. And if something is not true, then there will definitely be proof of it. So we can use that proof to show that this is not true. So yeah, those are the two situations that PR crisis is possible to solve.
All right, thank you, Rain. Allow me to go. Okay, so all right, talking about PR crisis, we first have to determine whether if it's coming internally or externally. All right, if say it is coming from internally, the first thing is we go from the general view, which is having a postmortem on what is happening, what went wrong in the previous, or what went wrong in what has went wrong that had led to this PR crisis. Okay, firstly, postmortem is really important. It is also quite actually an initiative you're planning to take as well. Okay, I'm not going to talk about that, but basically having a postmortem is really important because basically it reveals what did we did wrong, what can be improved, what can we look out after, like post event. After posting anything, we can actually sort of pinpoint what is the weakness of the last project or last post, and by the next one we can ensure crisis doesn't happen if we know what is our current weaknesses. Okay, apart from that, this is the general view. Let me talk about personal. We can also have a peer evaluation, okay, to sort of everyone come together. We can sort of evaluate, sort of basically it's like an assignment as well, because for each project I believe it's sort of like an assignment. Everyone has to do a peer evaluation on what went wrong, who did the wrong thing. It's not about criticizing or what, it's about letting each other know what is the weakness or what should we actually focus on, so the same scenario doesn't happen, the same bad scenario doesn't happen in the upcoming or future project. And also up to personal, there is a PEDP, personal evaluation development plan, which is something that is really useful. So after each, and not just after, perhaps every monthly, we can do a PEDP to actually sort of know your own weakness. It's like looking back at what you have done and sort of evaluate what is your weaknesses throughout handling your project, what is your weaknesses, what is your strength, and at the same time, it also minimizes the chances of crisis, and it also, in the same way, handle crisis as well. Because if there is a crisis happening with a PDP, we can actually know what is the main cause of the crisis. Okay, what is the weaknesses that is leading to the crisis, and also say if it's due to external factor. For example, perhaps there is a miscommunication or something. A meeting, a meeting evaluation can be implemented. For example, if the PR crisis is about this particular CNS or this particular management party, we can actually sit down together, evaluate what went wrong in the process, and sort of manage it. So in the next time, we know what is to be sort of highlighted or what is to be sort of pay attention to. For example, is it the communication part, or for example, is it the branding part, or for example, is it the way we are doing it, right? For example, the posting, the writing, whatever. Basically, it relates to how it's not just about us, it's about everyone, including the stakeholders as well.
Okay, thank you, Jackson, for your answer. But I believe that is more to fixing or solving the issues internally. Hence, how is your method on solving this issue externally, and how will you, like, in a sense, explain to the student community when such thing of PR crisis happen to MUSA? For example, there are some unwanted situations happening in Monash where the name of MUSA is brought up to this issue.
Okay, first and foremost, I feel like definitely if we are talking about externally in terms of Monash side, definitely a public announcement is most important. All the facts, a clear and concise statement is to be made, stating all the facts, stating what has went wrong, stating everything. And most importantly, we must show the sincerity towards apologizing as well. And we must sort of assure them we do not do the same mistake relating to what we did, solving internally and solving externally. As yes, we have caused a bad publicity, but through movements, through actions, we would sort of try to instill or try to rebuild a really strong reputation or really strong image from MUSA publicity again. Be able to assure you the same thing wouldn't happen again with proper management internally.
Okay, thank you. Chen?
So thank you for the answer, and now we move on to another question. Um, Seeing that majority of our jobs and creative contents do align with manga, how do you intend to divide the event coverage as in publicity coverage and editorial coverage for your next term? And how will you ensure that both departments' job scopes are not overlapping?
Um, I can take this question first. So, based on my understanding, MUSA official page and the Manga Gazette are independent from each other. So MUSA is MUSA and Manga is Manga. So we have very different, let's say, we have, yes, even though the job scope is the same, publicity and copywriting slash editorial of event coverage, but then we may have very different visions and missions. So to the how to make sure the job scopes are not overlapping would be, I think, the key here is communication, that we should build a very strong relationship with the manga department so that we know what are their objectives going into it. Like maybe is it to tell a story, or is it to take aesthetic photographs? Sometimes it can be both. Yeah, so it depends. I would say that um, to make sure the job scopes are like not too similar, like the outcome is not too similar, communication between both the visions are very important. Yeah.
Okay, so firstly, as we all understand, the MUSA publicity and MUSA editors are connected through the Media Affairs Committee, as I understand. So by discussion during meetings of the Media Affairs Committee, we can firstly ensure that our content and our job scopes don't overlap. And second of all, we should also at the same time have a shared mission and vision. Although our aim is different, but we should have a similar mission and vision, so that we can churn out consistent content across the MUSA pages. So while editors, they will focus on publishing photos, videos of daily events on campus, and most of the time, what they do is they do it after the event is over, like after the event is over. So for publicity, our job scope is more of before the event begins. Our aim is to publicize the event to get as much reach as possible, and maybe during the event for live streams as well to get as many views and interactions as possible.
Okay, thank you guys for the answers. So this is towards Jackson and Cheryl. So based on your manifesto, there are 3 points that have the same thing. So the direction of the student outreach program and yes, can you explain why you separated the 3 points with the surface satisfaction, elevating users' experience, and part of your journey? So can you explain why you separated from the uh, can you sorry, can you explain why you separated into 3 forms and what actions you're taking, what actions that you will take, or can you also justify the differences?
Hello. Okay, so allow me to answer your question. So you're asking why is the three things they are rather similar, but why did we dissect it into 3 points? But actually, when you read into it, it's actually not similar. All right. Sorry. Elevating user experience. We talk more about MUSA side. we talk about internally, we want to highlight, we want to focus on our content published by MUSA. We want to hone in on our quality and quantity on MUSA. So basically, for the first one, it's more towards us internally. Okay, this is the first one. The second one, part of your journey, it talks more about personalization. Yes. Okay. Because we cannot be overly generalized where people might feel a little bit bland and tasteless. So definitely we want to personalize our content towards them, which sparks their university journey, which it doesn't broaden out during their university road. All right. So it also provides them with gaining valuable knowledge, exploring their hidden potential as well. So the second part is more towards students. We say student oriented. Okay. For the third one, it is service satisfaction. It is more towards the people who are engaging on us on MUSA, whether it be the management team, whether it be the clubs and society, or whether it be student life. Basically, when you're saying if the three parts are similar, I don't think it's similar if you read clearly and truly structuredly.
Okay, thank you, Jackson, for the explanation. So, yes, based on your KYC answers, there is a strong emphasis on a roster-based system. Yes, its advantages and its objectives that can be achieved from the roster role system. We do understand that the roster role initiative that we implement this year is good to be carried on for the next term. May we know what new improvements that you have on this initiative? As your responses from the KYC answers is strongly emphasizing more on the benefits of this program.
Okay, I can take this question. Thank you for your question. In terms of new initiatives on how we would like to enhance the current roster-based system, is we would like to make it more task or job scope specific. So right now, the roster-based system is in the operation manager's division, and it's for the mostly for replying Instagram DMs or student inquiries. And I think that it would be very advantageous and make the whole process more efficient if it was also implemented in other tasks such as IG story repost, content repost, and in probably perhaps even in other subdivisions such as graphic designer or web developer. Yeah.
All right, allow me to follow up on this question. Okay, so actually, we are actually trying to highlight the fact this phrase, everyone is expecting someone to get something done. So it's like if we don't have a clear roster system or anything, every subcommittee, perhaps even including office bearers as well, they might think that, oh, you would get this done, she would get this done, but in the end, no one get this done thanks to this mindset. So with this clear system, we can actually sort of eliminate this mindset from each and every one, so we can ensure everything is up to deadline, everything is running smoothly, all the operations are smooth, not just Monash operation, but also external operations as well.
Okay, a follow-up to both candidates, since actually both candidates is planning to implement the roster system. So as a roster's role, meaning it is going to be handled by a different person, how will you ensure the same output qualities from different person? Maybe Rain can go first.
So with good communication, it's definitely possible to achieve that. Yes, with a roster system, there'll be different people handling maybe like different days of posts, or even like different what do you call that? Different the same type of content, but different iterations of the content, and we have different people handling it. But definitely, by having constant communication, not just in meetings, not just like weekly meetings, but also like having a Telegram channel or WhatsApp group chat, or maybe even like having like, I mean, it's not like impossible to meet up on campus, like maybe once a day when we are free even. So by having good communication, we can definitely ensure that there is a same level of quality across all things that are done.
Thank you for your answer. And again, to Jackson and Cheryl, you mentioned that you will be helping the commercial sides of clubs and society, which we believe are overlapping with the job scope of publicity officer itself, as the club and societies does have their own publicity officer. Hence, what are your thoughts about this?
All right. So for this part, I would like to relate to my opening statement, which is we want to act as a interconnecting bridge between students, clubs, and society, and MUSA. Of course, we want to create a closer, harmonious, and inclusive community. Okay, so you may say it is overlapping our job scope, but I may say it's technically not. It's because basically you, as I say, you say I see all those clubs and societies setting up booths, but sometimes it's not as effective thanks to the position or location they are allocated. So imagine if we sort of set up like a commercial place for them to actually place their merchandise or event ticket out. It is sort of a publicizing as well. It is also in a sense of publicizing their events as well.
But yes, I understand that is publicizing the promotional materials as well. But emphasizing more to the CNS publicity officer, do you think that this is not overlapping? Because CNS does have their own publicity officers, right? Yes.
All right. Sorry. Okay. So yes, I don't. Okay, we don't say it as overlapping. We can say it as collaborating. It doesn't. Even if we have it, it doesn't necessarily say they have to come to us. All the CNS must engage MUSA to place their merchandise on for us to promote it or sell it. It's up to them. If they feel like they need it, they can engage us for the activity. If they don't feel like, all right, their own publicity team is doing a good job, then go ahead. Because I feel like it's not about how do we say, it's not about stealing, it's not about taking up more responsibility, but it's more towards assisting, collaborating with each other, creating a more inclusive community.
Okay, thank you guys. So assuming that all candidates have gone through the constitution, you know the publicity department is part of MAC, or Media Affairs Committee. Please elaborate on the role of publicity officers itself inside the Media Affairs Committee. Thank you.
Should we go first, or Charlie?
I can take this question first. So thank you for your question. So in the Media Affairs Committee, the publicity officers are responsible for the production of are responsible for approving any of the publicity content that so that it could be CNS publicity, it could be general secretary, or school representatives. If there's any publicity material that needs to be approved, it would go through, and then we would be one of the stakeholders inside that is responsible to provide the stamp or like the approval for that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So both candidates actually mentioned their creative ideas on the website. So may we know that whether the both candidates have the skills on developing the website? Thank you.
Okay, so personally, yes, I do have skills developing website. As you all know, I was previously in the School of Engineering, so actually the entire unit on how to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But as I understand, currently MUSA is using WordPress, so I've actually also have experience with WordPress and Wix as well. And of course, if I do get into office, I would recruit subcoms who have experience with website development as well.
All right, for our part, currently we have the position of website developer, and for our initiative, we mentioned that we want to set up a commercial website. So basically, there is actually a lot of platforms, not a lot of vendors, like set up vendors that they can actually help us set up commercial websites. For example, you got the local one, IP88, you got Exabyte, you got Mostrakini. If you're going for more international one, you have got ETSY, you have got Shopify. Basically, because we don't plan to do, not to say too much, we don't plan to sort of mess up what the current MUSA publicity is doing on their website. We just hope to implement another new strategy to further our publicity role. And also, because during MSc, we saw that we can purchase, like the current MUSA publicity has purchased plugin to mitigate the other website into another website, right? So I believe that for this, it is appropriate to say we can actually sort of allocate, not to say excessive, but the right amount which we find it reasonable to actually start a commercial e-commerce website.
Okay, thank you guys. One more last question to Rain. So actually, reflecting to your opening statement, for your information, the events webpage and FAQ page are one of the current initiative from our department or this year's initiative. It is also mentioned in the MSc meeting that is open to all students. However, due to some technical issues, we must move from Squarespace to WordPress, which is needing another plugins lah. So, what kind of new initiative or idea that you have to add on in our MUSA website, other than the events webpage and FAQ, because it's actually this year's initiative. Thank you.
So in addition to FAQ and events, we can also make the website more interactive in such a way that students do not just need to go there and read. They can also interact with the website. So we can use things like JavaScript, and we don't use Flash anymore, but we can use things like JavaScript to make it interactive, so they're able to explore the website as if they are exploring something in the real world. And of course, we're not going to reach the level of virtual reality and all that, but we can simulate, like for example, even like a virtual place for them to communicate on the website. So like forums, I believe that's a feature that's available on WordPress. You can actually create a forum. So instead of having to voice their opinions out on some anonymous platform that has no affiliation with MUSA, I believe you all know what I'm talking about. They can actually voice their opinions on a forum that's supported on the MUSA website, and they can also choose to remain anonymous. But yeah, and of course, sorry. They can also choose to remain anonymous, but they can also choose to reveal their identity. So I think that is one of some new initiative that I can bring.
All right. Thank you, Rain, for the answer.
Thank you guys for your question and answer session. I have to say that was quite long, but also quite productive, very informative. Everyone got a chance to elaborate more on their candidate manifestos. Now, we are actually severely over time, but we still have to look at what the audience wants to ask. So we will start with one of these questions. Alithia, can you spotlight? Okay. So Nirain asks to Rain, how do you plan on ensuring all requests as publicity officer are communicated in a constructive manner, as not too long ago, you defamed MUSA on your Instagram story pertaining to your Monash Got Talent submission, which had an error? Do you plan on changing your approach on dealing with issues like such as publicity officer? If so, please elaborate clearly.
So first, I would like to clarify that the aforementioned issue, I think I have to clarify that so that people don't get confused. Why is this guy running for publicity officer when he said crap about MUSA earlier on. So I need to clarify that I had submitted the submission before the deadline. Then I was informed that like there were too many singing performances. So that was basically what I was informed. If you all want to see evidence, you can see my messages later. But anyway, how would I deal with this? So being MUSA definitely will receive criticism, and it's unavoidable. And MUSA has had its share of criticism over the past few years. So to manage this, I would to be first addressing the problem. So firstly, if someone's criticizing, there's definitely a problem that exists. They won't just speak up for no reason. So we have to address the problem, and we have to understand what the issue is, and then we have to find a good solution. So if there is no solution that can please everyone, obviously, so we have to find a solution that can please as many people as possible, or ensuring that it doesn't go against the MUSA constitution or any laws or like even Monash rules and regulations. And of course, if someone were to post something like what I posted, the first thing I would do is I would reply to that person telling them like, okay, how can I assist you? Please elaborate more. What would you... sorry, am I going over time?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so what would you like to address? Then after that, we'll sit down with our department to discuss which department is responsible for this, or which club is responsible for this, and or which university department is responsible for this, and we'll go ahead and communicate with them that this issue is taking place. If in the unlikely event that someone is just ranting about something that is totally beyond our control, like for example, the security guard at the parking lot didn't let them in because they forgot their ID, and that's really beyond our control, then we unfortunately can't address that because it's beyond our control. So yeah, we can only address things that are within our control, within our scope, of course.
Thank you, Rain. Let's move on to the next question. So Jamal Ahmad asks a question directed to all of you. He asks, assuming students may think that there is a general bias when MUSA represents Monash as a community, given that such a conflict of interest arises, how will this be addressed?
Hi. So, all right. Talking about because assuming MUSA is representing the community of Monash, and if there is a conflict of interest, how would we solve it? Right? Is this the question again?
Let me spotlight it.
Okay. So,
Okay.
assume students may think there is a general bias when MUSA represents Monash as a community. Given that such a conflict arises, how would this address? Okay. So, for this one, also relating to our manifesto, this is actually quite a common thing, a common issue that general perception towards MUSA may happen. All right, so relating to our manifesto, our opening statement. Okay, we hope to create a closer, harmonious, and inclusive, and also basically we're acting as an interconnecting bridge between students, clubs, and society in Monash. So when we are doing this, we have to ensure that everyone is at the same pace, where it doesn't. So sorry, let me rephrase it. Everyone is going at the same pace. Everyone is on the same train. So no one gets left behind because we are connecting with each other. So everyone, imagine it is a triangle. It is an unbreakable triangle. Everyone is moving together as one, towards the aim, towards the vision and vision at once. So if say a conflict really arises, a conflict of interest really arises, us as a MUSA, as the main portal, the main sort of connecting, the main body that connects students and clubs and society, we would definitely go in and sort of find out what is happening, how did the conflict arises, what causes the conflict arises, what, when, why, how. Okay, so all this, we would definitely use this to get to the bottom and understand, because, and also one thing that should be emphasized is definitely communications. If we are acting as an interconnecting bridge, engagement is really important, as well as communication. Communicating with students, communicating with clubs and society in Monash, and also communicating within ourselves. So by this, it actually helps to eliminate the chances of conflicts of interest arise.
Thank you for your answer, Jackson. What about you, Rain? What's your take?
So before I answer that, I just want to just quickly elaborate because Niran said I didn't answer his question. So I'll go just slightly a bit. Is that okay to answer his question properly?
I'll allow it. Although next time I would suggest not looking at the comments lah. But it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. As I'm going to read the question out. So how do I plan on ensuring all requests as publicity officer are communicated in a constructive manner? So to be honest, there is no way we can ensure that all comments towards MUSA are communicated in a constructive manner, because this is we have the right to speech, the right to freedom of speech. So people are going to say things that are not nice about us, definitely, whether it's as an individual or whether it's as an organization. So yeah, the only way we can do that is giving students platforms to voice their opinion. If they choose not to do it there, they choose to do it somewhere else, and they choose to do it non-constructively, we can't stop them. So we just have to address them the way that I mentioned earlier on. So this question that I'm supposed to answer now is, assuming students may think there's general bias when MUSA represents Monash as a community. So given that such a conflict of interest arises, how will this be addressed? So when MUSA represents Monash as a community, there is no doubt that there can be room for conflict of interest. There can be room for that. So in order to prevent this, similar to what Jackson and Joel said, communication is key. Because if we do not communicate with each other, we may come to misunderstandings. We may come to things that we don't want necessarily arising. So yeah, that's what I have.
Okay. Thank you, Rain. Let's move on to the next question. So, Alethea, if you could just spotlight one of... Okay. Oh, this is the one that was just asked. Okay, never mind. So, this question is directed to all of you. One of the job scopes of publicity officers involve implementing a system for posting posters on campus for MUSA bodies and students. As such, how do you aim to implement this system? What are the factors that are needed to be considered in making the system efficient and effective?
I can take this question. Thank you for the question, CY. As to how we aim to implement this system, based on my understanding, there's already a standard operating procedure for how the posters should be posted on a notice board. So firstly, clubs and societies or any external parties has to fill up a form, and they also have to pay a 50 ringgit deposit. And this is so that they can take down the posters from the notice board after a stipulated time period. As to how to make this system efficient and effective, I think it is important to delegate roles equally and fairly within the department, and so that everyone is aware of their responsibilities and who knows which poster they are responsible of. So this also ties in with the roster system, making it specific to certain days and certain job scopes. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. What's your take on it, Rain?
So my take on it would be, like Jackson and Cheryl mentioned, and even I mentioned earlier on, roster system, and of course the other thing would to be sorry, to be ensuring that we can place QR codes on the posters that people can scan, where we can track the interaction with it, like whether they signed up for the event or whether they just browsed the page and left. We can track all these metrics, and using those metrics, we can actually determine which notice boards are the ones that we should focus on, prioritize ourselves to post events on. And we can actually do further in-depth analysis. It may not be that feasible at the moment because, well, we're not like outside of university where like we have events that are like that much far apart in terms of topic. Most events are catered for students, but we could analyze those metrics as well and see which notice boards tend to attract which categories of events more as well. So that would be the most effective way.
Okay. Thank you, Rain. Thank you, Cheryl, for your answer once again. Let's move on to the next question also. So this one's from Sin. Question for all. As MUSA, social media will sometimes be responsible for promoting events from other MUSA departments or external stakeholders. What steps would you take to, and how will you ensure that you and your team will be well informed in answering any queries from the general public? For example, if you promote an event by university staff where MUSA is not directly involved in planning.
Is it okay if I go first?
Of course.
Okay, so let's assume that it's an event that's 100% maybe by the library. So we definitely would have to communicate with the library and like ask them all the FAQs that we can think of so that we have the answers at the back of our hand. Because it's not a good look when like you post something about the event and then suddenly you tell the person like, sorry, I don't know the answer, please refer to the library. So it's definitely important to know the event at the back of our hand. And in the event that we are truly unable to answer something, while some people might think like, oh, let's just redirect them to the library. No, what I would do is I would just say like, let me check and get back to you. That's a sentence that I use very often. And we'll get the information from the relevant parties as fast as we can. Preferably not through email. Like maybe we definitely should establish like Telegram or WhatsApp communication, which is like instant messaging, and get the information as fast as possible out to the parties who are interested in the info.
Thank you, Rain. What is your take, Jackson and Cheryl?
All right, allow me to go first for this one. Okay, since it is not directly involved, so definitely we have to have. Okay. Oh, okay. I thought there was another question. Sorry. We have to implement something that is more formalized, that is more systemized. For example, the one thing I would include is definitely a checklist, or perhaps we say a task list. So in the task list, we would definitely ask, what is the core value of the event? What is that you want to highlight? What is that you want us to emphasize more on? And definitely what is from your side, what is the thing that you feel that is most important, that it must be included in every part of our publicizing? Okay, so by having such checklists or task lists, it actually ensures we know what are the core values, what are the core principles of we must include in, and also by furthering by for example, small columns to say what are the informations that you want to include in, which is may not be as in the same level as importance as the previous mentioned, but also it also holds necessary value inside the post that it must be promoted or it must be highlighted in the post.
Another way to answer the queries by people is using a FAQ. So perhaps we could have like a chat with the stakeholders involved in the event, or by the university staff or external party, and then after that we can create like a like we can gather the common questions taken by the students or the public, and then after that we can ask them, and then after that we can post the FAQ so that people so that we don't have to how to say go like spend too much time in the answering the nitty-gritty details and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Cheryl and Jackson. Both candidates gave quite good answers. Let's move on to our last question of the day. So this one is from Dominic Lee. As you all know, is our current MUSA president. So question directed to all candidates. The publicity officer should have experience and know how to write official correspondence to stakeholders and public statements regarding issues of concern. For example, public relations crisis. Can all candidates elaborate on their experience with such issues and provide examples, if any? Please do put equal weight on your answer on both points of concern.
Is it okay if I go first?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so definitely, as policy officer, we should have experience and know how to write official correspondence to stakeholders and public statements regarding issues of concern. So, for example, I do have experience in writing PR statements regarding issues of public concern. So in the past, as you all know, there was a MCO in Malaysia, which was instated from 18 March 2020 to goodness knows when. But this actually resulted in a very bad perception of our organization outside of Monash, because people were unhappy with the fact that their second home had been closed for 2 weeks, and eventually 4 weeks, and then eventually like 1 year or so. So the way that we had to phrase it was that this is for your own good, for your own safety. So when writing a statement in response to public backlash or public criticism, it's important to let the people know, the people affected know, that this is for you. We are doing this for you. But assuming that the PR crisis is something like, touch wood, a scandal or something, then we definitely have to once again own up to it in the statement, definitely. If it really happened, own up to it, and then explain, don't justify it. Never justify something bad. Own up to it, explain what we can do to move forward, and explain what actions will be taken as well. So does that answer the question? Hope it does.
Well, I'm not the asker, so I won't be able to answer that. Anyway, what's your take on it, Jackson and Cheryl?
All right. So for the first part, basically is asking how do we write a correspondence, right? Okay, so for this one, at first, there's a few steps. First one is get to the bottom of what has actually happened, what has caused the backlash of it, what has caused the crisis to happen, and also address it formally, okay? If it's from our own side, own up to it. If it's not, if it's from other side, perhaps we can address it properly in a mannerly way, which it doesn't sort of defame the opposing party, okay? Next up is evaluate on what has happened, basically stating what has happened in a clear and concise, so it doesn't take up too much space where people find it boring to read, okay? So evaluate it. Also, the next part is write down what is the measure taken, perhaps you can say after carefully analyzing what has happened, what are the measures taken from, corresponding stakeholders. For example, if it's a safety issue, we can say include securities or security departments, okay, for example. And also, why are the sort of measures taken? Why is it necessary to take such measure? And also, at the last one is basically providing a platform for students to voice out their concern and as well to highlight anything near experience, or perhaps they can use it to also speak up to other matters as well.
Okay, thank you guys for both your answers. We are actually very over time, but it's okay. I think we all came to the debate to get the job done and inform our audience about how things work. So let's move on from the question and answer session from the students onto our closing statements. Rain went last for the opening statement, so Rain can start us off with his closing statement. Rain, the floor is yours.
So first and foremost, I would like to thank everyone here for spending time to listen to all of us. It's definitely quite late and it's bit sem break, right? So anyway, as I did mention in my opening statement, my vision for MUSA Publicity is to design and create content that represents all Monash students. So inclusion is very important to include every single student, no matter their background, no matter where they're from, what they do, what they're studying. And also create a safe space for student voices to be heard. So definitely your voice will be heard. You'll be able to communicate yourself freely without any risk of backlash. And I definitely hope that everyone can support my vision and mission to work for the students, as someone who has the potential to be elected. All right. Thank you very much, and have a great night, everyone. Don't hesitate to ask your questions in the comment section on the KYC. I believe I'm allowed to answer them right over there. Yeah, if you have any further questions.
Yes. By the way, if you have any further questions, you are welcome to approach these candidates individually as well. Anyway, thank you, Rain, for your closing statement. We can move on to Jackson and Cheryl's closing statement. Guys, you may start.
All right. So thank you. So it was of great honor and pleasure to be awarded such a chance to participate in this debate and to share our manifestos as well as giving a presentation to it. I would also like to thank the office bearer, the returning officers, and also all the audience for highlighting several key factors that may drive us to perform better in near future. Also, thank you for the participation, as your presence definitely means a lot to us. All right, we hope to be part of your university life and write fascinating stories in it.
Words wouldn't do justice on how grateful we are of having everyone here together. This goes to the audience, office bearers, and the election committee. All your inputs are much appreciated as it drives us to be better versions of ourselves. We hope we managed to answer all your questions, and you're more than welcome to drop us a text message anytime if you still have any more questions. We hope we get to serve you and elevate your university experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson and Cheryl. Okay, guys, thank you for participating. This was the debate for the publicity officer's position with our office bearers Alfie Faruzi and Lee Chen Yi. Our candidates were from Ignivitas and Lideransia, Jackson Koh, Cheryl Tan from the first party, and Rain Lee Lin Jun from the latter. Our next debate is happening in 1 minute. For the treasurer's position, and our candidates are Koki Taniguchi, Shellen Marshalakwe, Abdullah Khan, Kazia, and Sinia Juleva. We also have a few other platforms for election updates, such as Discord server, MUSA Instagram, and MUSA website, and our election guide, which was published recently. Do tune in for our next debate, and thank you for joining us tonight.